You think you know yourself. You think you know why you make the choices you make, why you love who you love, why you react the way you react, why certain people drain you and others light you up. You think your decisions are yours. But here's what decades of psychological research quietly discovered, and what most people will spend their entire lives never knowing. The version of yourself you believe in is mostly a story your brain constructed after the decision was already made. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just fascinating, it's going to change the way you see every single person in your life, including the one in the mirror. Here's a question that sounds simple, but will keep you up tonight. Why do smart people stay in situations they know are hurting them? Why do generous people attract those who take advantage? Why do people who desperately want love keep pushing it away? Why do we repeat the same patterns in relationships, in jobs, in arguments, even when we know better? The answer isn't weakness. It isn't stupidity. It isn't bad luck. The answer is hidden inside something far older than your thoughts, your beliefs, or your personality. Your nervous system, your childhood programming, your unconscious mind. Understanding human psychology means understanding this, the invisible architecture running underneath every human being you've ever met. And once you see it, the world becomes a completely different place.
Let me tell you something about the person watching this right now. You've spent a significant portion of your life trying to figure people out. Why did they say that? Why did they leave? Why did they treat you that way after everything you gave them? You've replayed conversations in your head at 2 a.m, reconstructed timelines, searched for the moment you missed, the thing you should have said differently. And underneath all of that searching is one raw, exhausting question. Is it me? Here's the truth about human psychology that nobody puts on a motivational poster. It's not about good people and bad people. It's about wounded people and healed people. People running on fear and people who've learned to run on something else. Every behavior, every wall, every outburst, every manipulation, every sudden coldness, every desperate need for approval has a psychological origin. Not an excuse, an origin. Understanding that is the beginning of understanding everything.
Let's go somewhere most psychology videos won't take you. The dark side of human behavior. Not because humans are evil, but because ignoring the darkness doesn't make you safe from it. It makes you blind to it. The ego's primary job is survival, not truth. Your ego, the part of you that narrates your life, is not designed to show you reality. It is designed to protect you from feeling worthless, powerless, or unloved. This is why people lie. Not always with words, but with self-delusion. The narcissist, who genuinely believes every failure is someone else's fault, their ego is working perfectly. It's protecting them from a shame so deep they'd collapse under its weight. The person who insists they don't need anyone while quietly dying of loneliness, same mechanism, different costume. We are wired to protect our identity, even when it's killing us. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the discomfort we feel when reality contradicts our self-image. And here's the terrifying part. Most people, when faced with a choice between changing their identity and changing their perception of reality, they change their perception of reality. Every time. It's not stupidity. It's neuroscience. The brain treats threats to self-image the same way it treats physical threats. Your identity feels as real and vital as your body.
The projection effect. What people accuse others of most passionately is often what they fear most in themselves. The person constantly suspicious of cheating, often hiding their own desire to escape. The person who calls everyone else manipulative, often the one most afraid of being exposed. Projection is the mind's way of outsourcing its darkest content, placing it in someone else so it doesn't have to be owned. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing it. It means you stop taking it personally. Because most of the time, what someone says about you reveals far more about them than it does about you. The scarcity mindset. Dark psychology thrives in environments of perceived scarcity. Not just financial scarcity, but emotional scarcity. People who grew up without consistent love, safety, or validation develop a nervous system that is permanently scanning for threat, for abandonment, for rejection. They don't experience life the way someone raised in security does. They experience it as a constant competition, a zero-sum game where someone else winning means they are losing. This explains the envy, the sabotage, the sudden coldness when you succeed, the subtle ways certain people try to keep you small. It's not about you. It is a wound playing out in real time.
Here's where it gets genuinely useful. Understanding human psychology isn't just an intellectual exercise. It is a practical skill that changes how you navigate every relationship in your life. Skill 1. Read the emotion behind the behavior. Every behavior is communication. When someone lashes out, isolates, shuts down, or becomes controlling, ask yourself one question. What emotion might be underneath this? Anger almost always has fear behind it. Control almost always has helplessness behind it. Cruelty almost always has shame behind it. You don't have to fix it. You don't even have to engage with it. But naming it internally changes how you receive it. It stops being an attack and starts being information. Skill 2. Understand your own triggers. The places where you react most intensely, the subjects that make you defensive, the behaviors that make you spiral, those aren't random. They are maps to your own wounds. When something small makes you feel disproportionately bad, that is almost never about the small thing. That is an echo of something older, something that felt identical once, when you had even less power to handle it. Learning to ask, is this reaction about now or about then, is one of the most psychologically sophisticated things a human being can do. Skill 3. Stop needing to be understood to stay grounded. One of the deepest psychological traps is the need for validation from the exact person who hurt you. We want the person who diminished us to see what they did, to acknowledge it, to apologize. And when they don't, we stay stuck in the orbit of that relationship, waiting. Emotional intelligence means learning to close loops internally, to give yourself the acknowledgement you're waiting for someone else to provide. This isn't settling, it's freedom. Skill 3. Stop needing to be understood to stay grounded. One of the deepest psychological traps is the need for validation from the exact person who hurt you. We want the person who diminished us to see what they did, to acknowledge it, to apologize. And when they don't, we stay stuck in the orbit of that relationship, waiting. Emotional intelligence means learning to close loops internally, to give yourself the acknowledgement you're waiting for someone else to provide. This isn't settling, it's freedom. Skill 4. Recognize attachment styles. In the 1960s, psychologist John Bowlby discovered something that would reshape all of human psychology. The way we attach to our caregivers in the first years of life creates a template, a blueprint that we unconsciously apply to every significant relationship we have as adults. There are 4 patterns. Secure, comfortable with closeness and independence, trusts that love won't disappear when they're not perfect. Anxious, craves closeness but fears abandonment, often perceived as too much by those with avoidant patterns. Avoidant, values independence to the point of emotional distance. Intimacy triggers a need to escape. Disorganized, a painful mixture of wanting closeness and fearing it simultaneously, often the result of childhood environments where the source of love was also the source of fear. Here is the part that changes everything. These patterns are not permanent. They were learned. They can be unlearned.
Not easily, not without discomfort, but the door is absolutely open.
Let's pull back even further. Because to truly understand human psychology, you have to understand the context we're all living inside of. We are ancient creatures in a modern world. Our brains were built for a life of tribal survival, where the threat of rejection from your group meant literal death, where resources were genuinely scarce, where the person who trusted a stranger could be killed for it. That brain is still running. Inside you, inside everyone you know. The anxiety you feel before sending a text? Tribal rejection fear. The rage you feel when someone disrespects you publicly? Status threat, which once upon a time meant loss of protection. The obsessive need to scroll social media at midnight? The tribal brain desperately scanning for connection, for signals of belonging, for proof that you matter to someone. None of this is weakness. It is ancient programming running in a world it was never designed for. And here's what that means practically. Most human suffering is not a character flaw. It is a mismatch between our evolutionary wiring and the world we've built. The person who can't stop seeking approval isn't pathetic. Their nervous system is doing exactly what nervous systems were built to do: ensure social belonging at all costs. Once you understand that, the judgment softens, not just toward others, toward yourself. The mirror principle. Here is something that quietly transforms every relationship once you truly grasp it. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. The person incapable of empathy, they are not withholding it from you specifically. They have never built access to it within themselves. The person who can't apologize, they are not.
Here's the twist. Everything I've shared in this video, the attachment styles, the ego defense mechanisms, the tribal brain, the wounds underneath behavior, most people will use this information to better understand other people. They'll use it to decode the people who hurt them, to finally make sense of the confusing relationships in their lives. And that is valuable, genuinely. But the deepest, most life-changing application of human psychology is not outward, it is inward. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. The same patterns you see so clearly in other people, the fear-driven behavior, the projection, the defensive walls, the need for control, you have versions of all of them too. We all do. The question is not, am I above this? The question is, which ones are mine, and what am I going to do about them? The person who understands psychology to protect themselves from others remains a spectator. The person who turns that same understanding on themselves becomes someone genuinely different, someone with actual freedom. Not freedom from pain, but freedom from being unconsciously driven by it. That is the real destination this knowledge leads to. And most people never make it there, because it requires the one thing human psychology is most designed to avoid: radical honesty about yourself.
I want to end with something that I think about often. Every person you've ever met, everyone who confused you, hurt you, surprised you, disappointed you, moved you, they were doing the best they could with the psychological tools they had available at that time. That doesn't mean the harm wasn't real. It was. It doesn't mean all behavior is acceptable. It isn't. But it means something quietly powerful. People are not mysteries to be solved. They are wounds trying to heal, or wounds that haven't found the courage to yet. And you, the person who watched this entire video, you are already doing something remarkable. You are choosing understanding over reaction, curiosity over judgment, depth over the comfortable surface of things. That is not a small thing. In a world that rewards speed, noise, and certainty, choosing to actually understand something is a radical act. Keep going. Not because you owe it to anyone else, but because somewhere underneath all the patterns and the programming and the old stories,
There is a version of you that has never been afraid. That version is patient. It's been waiting a long time. And it is absolutely worth finding. The music fades completely. 5 seconds of silence, then soft resolve. If something in this video hit differently, share it. Not to teach someone a lesson, just because someone in your life might need to hear it today. And drop in the comments, what's the one thing about human psychology you wish someone had told you years ago? I read every single one. Like if this changed how you see things. Subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.